All right, we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the All Hat No Cattle live stream for Thursday. Today is June 7th, 2018. We're going to be going over the fat acceptance movement. Is it dying? Is it thriving? Or are we somewhere in between? I'm going to be going over a series of articles uh, outlining my position, and we'll see where we're at. I'm looking forward to a lively and informative chat. And of course, after the video is posted, please feel free to put in comments on the video in the comment section, of course, and let me know what you think of it. Would you like better live streams, different live streams? Of course, suggestions are always welcome. And I really want to know if these times are any good for you. 4 p.m. on a weekday seems to work out well for me, but I want all of you to have a say in that. If there's a better time that I can fit into my schedule, which is fairly wide open, I'll admit it, then let's get to it. All right, so once again, is fat acceptance dying? Let's get to our first article. Let me kill this. There we go. All right, now I'm going to start with what happened back in 2016, almost exactly 2 years ago, when this ad, which had been displayed for about a year on the London subway system, which they colloquially call the Tube, had been running. It's by a company called Protein World. They make meal supplements, and it's whether or not they work, I don't know. I've never tried them. I prefer just eating right and cutting out certain bad foods as opposed to trying supplements, although I do have a protein shake every day because I don't eat a lot of meat too often. So I want to get that into the system. But again, weight loss products, I'm not a fan. Do theirs work? I don't know. Anyway, this was their campaign. Are you beach body ready? It has a woman wearing a yellow bikini, and she is in excellent shape and is, to my eye, very attractive. Symmetrical features. The breasts aren't too large or not too small. In my opinion, shapely body. So she's good to go. She is good to go. She's beach body ready, in my opinion. Now, there wasn't a lot of backlash against this, except from a vocal minority, as you might expect. And it's not the majority who gets to make policy lately. It's the loudest. And so what happened was Sadiq Khan became mayor of London, and he decided that he was going to ban these ads. You can see right here. London mayor bans body shaming adverts on public transport because Londoners are officially beach body ready all year round. I think we could all realize that that statement is quite fatuous. Adverts that demean people, particularly women, will be banned from London's public transport networks just 1 year from the controversy around Protein World's Are You Beach Body Ready posters. And this was published June 14th of 2016. Introducing Transport for London's new advertising policy, the new London Mayor Sadiq Khan is taking a strong stand against marketing that pressurizes, yes, pressurizes, that's the word he used, not pressures, pressurizes people, especially women and young girls, to conform to rigid and unhealthy physical standards. In an interview with the Evening Standard, he said, "As the father of 2 teenage girls, I'm extremely concerned about this kind of advertising which can demean people, particularly women, and make them ashamed of their bodies. It is high time it came to an end. Nobody should feel pressurized while they travel on the tube or bus into unrealistic expectations surrounding their bodies, and I want to send a clear message to the advertising industry about this." While the change is not a direct response to Protein World's notorious advertising campaign, the weight loss company's Beach Body Ready posters would now fall under the ban. Promoting a meal replacement supplement to help women make their bodies acceptable for a trip to the beach, the posters triggered a widespread backlash. And again, widespread, not so much. Vocal, yes. And the loudest wins. So, here's the update to the Beach Body Ready program. This, of course, was not put out by Protein World. They are not that insane. But it is a bit of a campaign called beachbodyready2018.com. Feel free to go to that website. I did not, nor do I plan to. I'm not even going to link to it. It's up to you. And at the bottom there, it says, at Navabi, we believe you're beach body ready just the way you are. Enjoy your life. Love your body. Okay, love your body. Now I've talked about this before. I'm not against people being happy about themselves to a point. You should be happy in your social relationships. You should be happy in your physical attributes as well. But if you're going to die at least 10 years early because you're overweight, because you're morbidly obese, you should not be happy. You should be at least a little bit frightened because you could die early. I've referenced this in other videos. One of my commentators on a video had said that there was a study put out by, I believe, Oxford that talked about smokers and the obese losing 10 years off their lives, the same amount. So you can regularly smoke and die at 70 or 60, depending on where you live, or you can not eat healthy and not take care of yourself and die at 70 or 60, again, depending on where you live. It's not up in the air there. That's solid research. I looked at the study. It's accurate. The methodology is good. So, where are we with that? I wish these pushes would stop coming. You can't see them, but I can. So here was a response to Khan. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Here we go. Move that. And move that. That's a preview. This is from The Drum, and this was published the day after the story I just read. Sadiq Khan's unrealistic body ads ban nothing more than censorship. Advertising's loss will be PR's gain. Now, this article is basically looking at this event from a public relations standpoint as far as sales of ads to companies, what will work, what won't. And it pretty well outlines that bans like Khan's are only going to make things worse for the loudest in the group. They're not going to get their way overall. He may ban a specific part of the city from advertising those, but they're going to pop up elsewhere, and they're going to do quite well because of the censorship. So here's part of the article that I wanted to go over first. There are three aspects I wanted to talk about here. Excuse me, I'm getting a little dry. Black Diamond and, oh gosh, what's the other coffee? Oh, Double Diamond and, I can never remember the other name, by Green Mountain Coffee. Excellent. Get a Keurig. No, I'm not sponsored by them. So, three aspects I wanted to talk about here. One, I've seen people celebrating this as a success. It is anything but a success. It is blatant censorship in a bid to appease, as I said, the loudest voices. It is absolutely not unrealistic to attain the sort of bodies on show in advertising. And you know why? Because literally millions of people exist among us that look after their physique. The usually very real people that appear in these adverts. There's nothing absolutely wrong with aspirational images. Now, he uses the word usually there because of the spate of digitally altered models that were all the rage back around 2003 to 2013, somewhere in there. Ultimately, though, the sponsors realized that these campaigns were failing because people were savvy enough to realize that these images had been altered, especially when a lot of the studios were leaking the initial images back to back with the doctored images, thereby showing the deceit involved in the campaign. So like I said, around 2013, people wised up to that and stopped using altered images. And then number three, very often the offended parties aren't the target audience anyway. A marketing tactic brands like Paddy Power BrewDog, and Ryanair have used constantly to court controversy. And those three people, Paddy Power is a gambling concern in the UK. They have sportsbook shops, online betting, and casino games. BrewDog is a pub in Scotland, and Ryanair is, of course, an airline. I believe it's a discount airline that flies out of the UK. And let's see, there was one other part. I wonder if the same people celebrating the mayor's decision, have complained about the Diet Coke man, Old Spice's pitchman of yesteryear, Isaiah Mustafa, or David Beckham's underwear ads for H&M as examples of unrealistic body image promotion. I'm not one for building straw people, but I'd hazard a guess that probably not. So what are these campaigns he's referring to? Here's the Diet Coke guy, since retired. And here's David Beckham in his H&M underwear ad. These were immensely popular. I know I had heard of them and seen them, even though I am not an H&M shopper, can't afford the place, but there you go. So, definitely a double standard here. They will scream about women's images, but you don't hear that much about men's images because, who's important here, right? Okay, so on next. This just came out last February, and they made an announcement again last Wednesday. Weight Watchers will be free for teens this summer. Weight Watchers recently announced that in the summer of 2018, all teenagers 13 to 17 years old will have the opportunity to obtain a free membership to their program. The company believes the initiative will, quote, help the development of healthy habits at a critical life stage, unquote. I am inspired to be part of this purpose-driven mission as we deepen and expand our connection to communities, making wellness accessible to everyone, said Oprah Winfrey, who owns a stake in the company and is an avid participant in Weight Watchers Freestyle, in a statement. Okay. Free to kids for 6 weeks. Now, is Weight Watchers a pure dieting program? Used to be. Used to be you had to count your calories all the time. They even had calorie cards that you could use to add up your calories as you went through the day, if I'm not mistaken. But it's changed recently. They don't do a lot of that anymore. They're more a support group with recipes and some calorie counting ideals, but they don't force you into dieting like they may have in the past. Oh, I'm sorry. The one last thing I forgot. I could have sworn I had all these lined up. The tail end of that article here, where it said that these ads took advantage of good-looking men to achieve their marketing aims, while the shirtless model isn't necessary for PG Tips to achieve its own. This is PG Tips. It is a tea company. So yes, PG Tips would not need to display half-naked men, or women for that matter, in order to sell their product. I'd be interested to see what happened if they did. All right, let's close that. So, again, back to Weight Watchers. So, who is Weight Watchers? Who are Weight Watchers? What is Weight Watchers? According to their Wikipedia page, Weight Watchers International is an American company that offers various products and services to assist weight loss and maintenance. Founded in 1963 by Queens, New York homemaker Jean Nidek, it now operates in about 30 countries around the world, generally under names that are local translations of Weight Watchers. The core philosophy behind the programs is to use a science-driven approach to help participants lose weight by forming helpful habits, eating smarter, getting more exercise, and providing support. Okay, let's keep that in mind. Helpful habits, eating smarter, getting more exercise, and providing support. These sound like good things to me. It sounds like a very well-rounded program. Again, in the past, maybe not so much, but they have grown. In fact, the announcement that they were going to be giving teens a free 6 weeks of services this summer, the stock went up about 18% on that notice. So the investing public was very much behind the idea. But not everyone was. This was by Rebecca Scritchfield in the Washington Post. Weight Watchers this week announced its plans to offer free 6-week memberships to kids as young as 13 beginning this summer. The company's move is part of a bigger plan to grow revenue and a loyal customer base for life. Start them young, right? That's one of the reasons the stock went up. You're building in a base early. You're building in a base from the ground up, if you may. So, if I may. Is that a bad thing? According to Rebecca, it is. As a health professional and mother, I am appalled. With celebrity names such as Oprah Winfrey, who is on the board, and DJ Khaled, the latest spokesman for Weight Watchers, the company is on track to exert powerful influence on people far and wide. Kids will undoubtedly pay a heavy price for this free membership in the form of body shame. That's right. Those tips that I had mentioned earlier, healthy lifestyle, eating right, support, no. Rebecca knows that it's going to be all about body shame. That's important, right? No, it's delusional. It will not only affect those who participate, but also every other teen who is exposed to the message that some bodies are problems, and if you're at a higher weight, your body needs to be fixed. Thus, kids of all sizes will have something to fear. Kids of all sizes will have something to fear. This sounds like pure fear-mongering to me. No, kids of all sizes won't have something to fear. Kids who have normal home lives, with normal parents, and normal eating habits won't be affected by this at all. They won't go anywhere near Weight Watchers. Why should they? This program is going to be open to people who have unhealthy eating habits, and not just, I suspect, those who are overweight, but also those who may be underweight. Although Weight Watchers doesn't sound like it would help the underweight, the program itself is about healthy lifestyles, healthy eating, exercise. That would not be a bad thing for someone who is underweight as well. Is that a part of the program? I don't know, but it is a possibility, and one that if it's not, I think Weight Watchers should surely look into. To continue, the name is Weight Watchers, not Health Enhancers. The second the focus turns to weight, the potential for mind and body damage begins. Again, no one is saying the focus is going to turn to weight. She's taking the company name Weight Watchers literally. She's not paying attention to the changes they've made. She's not paying attention to their mission statement. She's merely defining their entire company by the title, which has been around since '63. You don't normally change successful campaigns. Weight Watchers is international, like they said, 30 companies, and people know who they are. And if you look at their wiki page, you know what they're all about. How hard is that? Well, it's obviously too hard for Rebecca to understand. Now, she does go into a couple things here that I feel are worth talking about. First, in 2016, pardon my voice, in 2016, the American Academy of Pediatrics released a clinical paper stating that dieting, defined as calorie restriction with the goal of weight loss, is a risk factor for the development of eating disorders and obesity. That is true. I took a look at the study, which I'm going to provide a link for in the description for this video. And sure enough, there is almost a twofold increase in eating disorders among children who have unhealthy eating habits and try dieting in order to fix those, or have unhealthy weight and try dieting to fix it. And now, let's be honest though, dieting is just calorie restriction. Some children become addicted to exercise as well, but that's an entirely different story. Eating disorders is what Rebecca's focused on here, and they are a problem if you don't address obesity in the child properly. I want you to read the study, at least some of the highlights, and look into why that is important. One thing in the study that Rebecca doesn't mention that I think she should have is that healthy eating habits begin with the family. For instance, in reading the study, I found that if you eat 7 or more family meals a week, the chances of any of the children developing eating disorders is almost zero, or at least close to zero. I'm not exactly remembering it as sharply as I should have, and I forgot to write it down. Please excuse me. But anyway, the chances are extremely low, especially compared to kids who diet, especially. Um, and why couldn't Weight Watchers provide you with that kind of a healthy eating atmosphere? Do they promote that kind of thing? Most likely. Weight Watchers is up to date on their research. I'm sure they know these things. Is it a fact? No, I don't know that for a fact. But I would be very surprised if it wasn't in their curricula. Um, curriculum, curriculum, whatever. Um, Now, Rebecca talks about one other thing here. Studies indicate adverse health outcomes of weight bias include anxiety, stress, depression, low esteem, and body image issues. Well, those are true of the obese in general. That's absolutely a psychological comorbidity of obesity. Your social skills drop, your feeling of being connected with society drop, and you feel isolated and anxious and etc. Um, so it's not just someone saying, you know, you're fat and that causes everything. Chances are they're already there already. And I think, I don't know Rebecca's weight, but let's just say she is overweight or she's white knighting for people who are overweight. This could be obvious projection right here. There was one other thing I wanted to find. All right, I didn't see the link here, but I pulled up another link that she had linked to. This is from the U.S. National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health, and it's called Weight Bias, a Call to Action. That may have been in the last paragraph I just referenced. Now, this is all about weight stigma, weight prejudice, overweight, eating behaviors, things like that. This is not a scientific study. This is social justice rampant. Let me show you a very important part of this that I found quite fascinating. It's table 1, and again, you should read these things. Don't just take my word for it. And these are guide choices. Let's see, which one did I want? Ah, yes. Guide choice through changing the default policy. Devise media and journalism guidelines for prohibiting gender-based and weight-based stereotypes in the media. Ergo, stop portraying women of size eating ice cream to cope with mental health issues. Because that never happens. No one of any size has ever curled up with a pint of Ben & Jerry's and binge-watched Netflix in order to feel better about their hard day. It's never happened. I'm just noticing the chat. Hello, Cheshire Cat. Please let the fat acceptance be dying. It is so unhealthy and should not be accepted as normal. I agree completely. Thank you for that. I could not be happier with that statement. And Cheshire Cat, no problem with obese people if they acknowledge the unhealthy lifestyle and strive to change it. Good job, but it should not be told that it's normal to be 600 pounds. Exactly. You hit the nail right on the head. I get comments every now and then on the Whitney videos or on the You Can't Ask That Fat videos where people say, you just hate fat people. And that's not true. I love fat people. I have fat people in my life, morbidly obese people in my life, and I adore them, but I want them to be healthier. And if they don't want to be healthier, if they want to stay at that weight and tell other people that they should be their same weight, then I talk to them about that, and we have a discussion. And more often than not, I get my message through. There are those, though, who know that they are overweight, are upset about it, like Gary in the You Can't Ask That Fat video, the guy in the polo shirt, and they want to be better, but for various reasons, they're not able to pull the trigger on that, if I may use a gun-related metaphor. They may have physical issues that they haven't been able to resolve. They may be stressing out. A very good friend of mine, for instance, until recently was trying to get into graduate school for a mathematics department, and he is overweight and he has bad knees. So he's compounding his health issues. Unfortunately, he has not been able to afford any kind of water exercise that would be very good for him because he's living below the poverty line right now, trying to save up enough weight for grad school. He just can't get a high-paying job and keep his options open for grad school. And he's also having to take care of his parents quite a lot. So he also has that restriction. But he knows he needs to lose weight, and we talk about it not all the time because I don't focus on people's weight, but every now and then we discuss it. He's seen all the weight that I've lost. I lost 80 pounds in the last 2 years. He's seen all the weight my wife's lost. She's lost over 120 pounds in the last 2.5 years, and he wants to feel better about himself. And he will. You know why? Because he just got into graduate school. He made it. He's going to go into the math program at Loyola, and we are absolutely over the moon for him. We are so proud. And I know that with this hurdle out of the way, his mind is going to be able to go more towards taking care of himself. And what could be better? What could be better? D-Man 2006. Hi there. Some overweight people never take responsibility for their actions. You were never born overweight. It's constant negative behavior. Yes, I agree with that. I mean, we all have seen those really chubby babies, but they grow out of it. They get taller, and their body kicks in, and they start to slim down. It's eating habits in children that I think are the greatest cause. Um, and if you have obese parents and obese relatives who what's what I'm looking for? Not glamorize, but legitimize an obese lifestyle, you're less likely to try to change your own eating habits, and that is a big problem. I don't believe, for the most part, that genetics have anything to do with obesity, except in rare instances of actual metabolic disorders. For the most part, it's bad habits learned over time. Sometimes it's extreme stress eating due to horrible childhoods. I know someone on YouTube who has that problem. I won't name names because I'm not a friend of his, so I don't think it's my job to talk about him specifically. But that that those kind of people need mental health as well as nutritional health uh, advice in order to lose that weight. Some of them are so obese they have to have surgery in order to get over the hump, pardon the metaphor, and get back down to a normal weight and become healthy. But those options are available. There are myriads of options available for people who are not at a healthy weight, who are not in a healthy lifestyle to change that. This society has been reaching out to overweight people, morbidly obese people, for decades. And what's happening? Now they're pushing us back and saying, it's not my problem, it's your problem. You're the one who is forcing me to live this lifestyle because you shame me. You know, to hell with that. And Cheshire Cat, right, it's all about what you ate as a kid and what you continue to eat. Tell him to go to a community pool to swim. That is an awesome idea. I can't believe I didn't think of that. Just hold on to the side of the pool and kick. It's an awesome idea, Cheshire Cat. I will tell him that immediately. I will message him right after the stream and ask if he would like to do that with me. We could go together, make it a team exercise. My wife could go well too, or go as well. She has bad knees from her earlier weight, and that would be an awesome activity. You're a genius, sir, or ma'am. I forgive the improper gendering if I did so, but again, you're a genius. Esha Skeppel, one of the biggest causes of weight gain is not eating during the day and binge eating at night. Absolutely. Absolutely. I know a number of friends who are overweight who have a problem with night eating. And it's an unhealthy eating habit and it has to be changed. And again, that can be done through therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy is important. And it's pretty much the only psychological aid that I've found over the last 10 years or so that has actually proven to work. Most of the others are kind of made up as you go along. That's why I'm not a huge fan of psychology right now. Not saying it doesn't have its uses, but there's a lot of abuse going on in that industry. In BL Channel, I grew up on eating foods that are common to the traditional Asian diet. Lots of vegetables, fish, rice, tea, and water. Fatty foods and sweet were not part of my everyday diet. That helped a lot. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a problem with the Western diet. We have so much food to choose from. And people like, if they can get a hold of it, they like sugar, they like fat. It tastes good. There's no way around it. It tastes good. So if you're exposed to it in an unhealthy manner, it can become quite a horrible habit. I used to drink soda all the time, and I no longer have teeth from here to here because of cavities and root canals and failed jaw structure, things like that. and the sugar played a big part of that, and I paid for it. I no longer drink soda. This is black coffee, which I enjoy. First, it tastes good. Second of all, it keeps the mouth clicks down. Someone told me that when I first started using a microphone on YouTube. Made a big difference. So win-win. Um, and Cheshire Cat, I'm a girl. Okay, thank you. I swam since I was 5 and kept it up at 29. Yes, swimming is awesome. Swimming is awesome. I used to swim all the time myself. An apartment that I lived in North Dakota when I lived in Grand Forks had an indoor pool. And of course, it's in North Dakota, so you needed to have an indoor pool. And I swam every day, every day. And I was in the best shape of my life. Unfortunately, a weight accident caused me to lose the use of my right arm for about a week. And that changed my exercise habits completely. So I just never got back in the pool. Um, and some health issues in the past 15 years have kept me out of the pool as well. But no, not 15 years, excuse me. No. Some back issues off and on. But the last 3 years I've been out of the pool. But we're getting back in real fast. That's awesome. That's awesome, Cheshire Cat. Even cowboys and girls, absolutely what. Evening to you too, sir. Evening to you too. Mads, I binge eat a lot at night, and while I've never been overweight, it does cause my weight to go up and down. Trying to change that, and I'm glad there's people like you who are honest and helpful. Well, I'm sure you're referring to me and everyone else in the chat, Mads, um, and that's awesome for you. It's not easy to change eating habits that you've had for a while. I know that for a fact. The biggest thing for me was not stopping when I was full. I would say to myself, this is too good to not finish. And I would eat until I could barely get out to the car. And I would even drink 3 glasses of sweet tea with a 16-ounce steak. And I felt like I was going to throw up when I put my seatbelt on. It was ridiculous. It took time, but I finally tricked myself out of that. I finally realized my body is telling me something. I need to listen to it. And that helped a great deal. I will admit, though, I'm kind of getting back into that. I'm falling back into that trap. For some reason, my eating habits have changed over the last month, and I've stopped losing weight. But we're getting back in the pool, and that's going to change things for the better. I know it for a fact. Whitney Way Thor is a detriment to society. She constantly tells the world she's happy, but spends most of her life crying, always playing the victim card. It's always someone else's fault. Yes, absolutely, D-Man, absolutely. It is pathetic. You watch her videos, the first video that I did on her, the Whining Whitney Thor, and she talks about herself as if she's this great person with all these wonderful attributes. And I'm not saying she doesn't have positives in her life. I'm not saying that at all. She is a human, and she deserves a certain amount of respect just for that. But she lies all the time. It's incredible, and I can't stand it. It's why I do videos on her, because she needs to be called out for her actions. And I want her to be better. I really do. I don't want her to die early. I don't want her to die at all. I want her to live to 110. Go for it, Whitney. But she's not going to if she doesn't keep, if she keeps on this path of constantly overeating and blaming other people for her problems. She's never going to get better. Cheshire Cat, thanks for the well wishes. That's wonderful. And my in-laws are in Pinoy and wanting her cooking. I lost 50 pounds. I love Asian food. Eating, yes, eating. Yes, that's wonderful. I love Asian food too. Unfortunately, my wife just retired, so I can't afford the grand sushi platter I used to get Friday nights. I've had to cut back to once or twice a month on that. But I adore sushi. I adore rolls. I adore sashimi. I could eat it 5 times a week easily. Do a video on Virgie Tovar. She's insane. Let me write that down. Sorry for all the noise. This is the squeakiest chair in America. I've had it for about 15 years. I really need to ditch it. Okay, that is Virgie Tovar. Gotcha. Okay, we'll look her up. Have you all heard of Amberlyn Reed? I believe her last name is. She's a serial dieter on YouTube. She's currently, I think, doing Weight Watchers. I have to check in on her and see how she's doing now. I'm probably going to do a video on her, but I don't want to be mean. I really don't want to be mean. I want to be helpful to her, but she really boils my blood. So I've got to go into it with just the right frame of mind. Um, so anyway, back to the articles. I'll catch up with the chat in a second. So guide choice through changing the default policy. Devise media and journalism guidelines for prohibiting gender-based, oh, I already read that, excuse me. Depict positive stereotypes of people living with obesity in the media. So of course they can't write. That should be depict in the media positive stereotypes of people living with obesity. But the fact is, what is a positive stereotype of an obese person? What? Give me one. And then here's my favorite though. Enable choice. Modify the built environment to accommodate individuals of all weights. Ergo, chairs and waiting rooms, staircases, airplane seats, hospital beds, clothing, uniforms, and exercise equipment. Now, I will go with exercise equipment. That is important, that the obese can go into a gym shame-free and work on their bodies. But if they feel it's not available to them, they can always do it at home. There are thousands of home exercise programs that are tailored to body types. And I'm sure they could go to, oh gosh, what is it? Fitness 360, something like that, that they can download and exercise right there in the comfort of their own home. But here's the part that really gets me. Some of these I go either way on, but airplane seats. Do these people know anything about engineering? You can't make the seats heavy. You make the seats heavy, the airplane gets weighed down, it can't carry as much fuel, it can't go as far, the airline loses money. If they think the airlines are going to build morbidly obese, accommodating seats, they're out of their minds. It's not fiscally responsible, and it's not an engineering feat that should be attempted. Another thing with the morbidly obese in an airplane, if there's a crash, they're going to create more of a hazard than a person who is not morbidly obese when you try to get off the airplane. If I were the airlines, I would have a weight restriction on people who could fly. I really would. If you have to be able to fit a carry-on bag into a certain size and weight in order to bring it onto the airplane, you should be able to fit into a seat properly too. If you can't use the extended seat belt, you will be kicked off the airplane. I know that, and I totally agree with that. Now, I looked up one of the authors of this study, and it was Shelley Russell Mayhew. And I found an article that she did called Positioning of Weight Bias Moving Towards Social Justice. And there you go. This is the fat acceptance movement in a nutshell. It is feminism and it is social justice. Let me read you the abstract from this. You're not going to believe it. It'll take me a little while, but I think you're going to get a kick out of it. Weight bias is a form of stigma with detrimental effects on the health and wellness of individuals with large bodies. Large bodies. Euphemism much? Researchers from various disciplines have recognized weight bias as an important topic for public health and for professional practice. What researchers, and define important topic? To date, researchers from various areas have approached weight bias from independent perspectives and from differing theoretical orientations. How many of them were positive, my dear? How many of them said, you know what, weight bias is proper. We need to do that in order to help society function without wasting billions of dollars on the obese in healthcare and other accommodations that are happening throughout the country. How many? In this paper, we examined the similarities and differences between three perspectives, i.e. weight-centric, non-weight-centric, and health at every size. Okay, if you watched my previous live stream about HAAES, excuse me, which is basically the Health at Every Size program, you'll know how great I feel about that particular phrase. Used to understand weight bias and approach weight bias research with regard to language about people with large bodies, theoretical position identified consequences of weight bias and identified influences on weight-based social inequity. Now, did that make much sense at all, or was that just gobbledygook, feminist, SJW word salad? I think you know which one I go for. We suggest that, despite differences, each perspective acknowledges the negative influences that position weight as being within individual control and the negative consequences of weight bias. Well, there you go right there. Your weight is not under your control. It's not your fault. Like Riley said, your metabolism, it's your metabolism. You can't do anything about it. You only control 10% of your calories. First of all, not true. And second of all, even if you only control 10% of those calories, you're still going to lose weight, dummy. But no, it's not your fault that you're morbidly obese. It's not Whitney's fault that she weighs 400 pounds, that she gained 200 pounds in college, achieved the outstanding achievement of becoming afflicted with PCOS, which I'm of the opinion, and I have read doctors' opinions as well, not on Whitney per se, but still I've read doctors' opinions that morbidly obese weight gain can cause PCOS. And you know how to reverse that horrible disease? You lose the weight. I've had commentators, let's just say commenters. I've had commenters from a number of different people, comments from a number of different people on my Whitney videos and on my You Can't Set That videos, who say they have reversed their PCOS through exercise and watching what they eat. I think I've gotten at least 5 or 10 comments regarding that. And I've gotten dozens more about their PCOS being a contributor to weight gain, but they did not let it take over their life. I talk about Whitney with them, and they see right through her excuses. We call for recognition and discussion of weight bias as a social justice issue. There you go. In order to change the discourse and professional practices extended towards individuals with large bodies. We advocate for an emphasis on social justice as a uniting framework for interdisciplinary research on weight bias. In other words, fat people should be left alone. They're just fine the way they are. It's not their fault, and society needs to change to accommodate them. They don't need to change in order to fit into society. Thank you, Miss Russell Mayhew. All right, off of this topic. Let's get back to the chat for a second. Perseus Gold, hello. It's very nice to have you here. I'm honored. I truly am. Those of you who don't know Perseus, he's a regular on the Hard Bastard chat, which is an excellent news aggregator YouTube channel. Hard Bastard is very entertaining and he's very insightful. He's especially good at poking through the propaganda techniques that the mainstream media uses to try to get you to believe their bull. But Perseus is quite, and his channel is quite interesting as well. You should check it out. Let's see, we're talking about Virg Tovar and Mads. I recently became disabled, and it's unfortunate I can't do a lot of exercises, but hey, things happen, and to me it's an insult when obese people with perfectly healthy bodies make excuses not to exercise. Oh, absolutely, Mads, absolutely. And then I think I may have an article on this, but if not, there are people who say they are fat and fit, and that's a total lie. I'm going to probably jump ahead of myself a bit here, but study has shown that 28% of people who say they are fat and people who say they are fat and fit have a 28% higher chance of developing heart disease. There you go. Okay, so Perseus Gold, what is your thoughts on stocking density of dairy goats, 15 per acre without feed, or 30 per acre with feed, 25 centimeters of rain per year? Perseus, that is an excellent question that I know absolutely nothing about. I am totally ignorant on animal husbandry and animal farming. If you ask me about corn production, I can fairly hold my own. I grew up in corn country, but as far as goat raising, all I know about goats is they eat things. Sorry, but an excellent question. Let's see. Perseus Gold, the real problem here is they don't teach racial nutrition in school. in schools, different races require different nutrition levels of different things based off of biological distances, such as Aboriginals not being able to eat any wheat products without becoming fat, diabetics, which I know from personal experience in my family, and how Black Americans need to eat more fish containing vitamin D because the daylight requirements listed. I'm sorry, that listed in the nutrition guide are for white people. Black people literally need 20 times more time in the sun to get the same amount of vitamin D. And absolutely, Percy, absolutely. And it's a fairly obvious reason why the excess melanin, or I shouldn't say excess, that's not right, the extra melanin in their skin blocks that UV radiation that creates the vitamin D in your body. I personally am on vitamin D supplements because I don't get out in the sun enough. That's going to change, but well, maybe if I keep up with this YouTube channel, it's going to cut down on my outside activity some. But still, it is summer and I get out to the range and shoot more, so my vitamin D levels will go up naturally. But that is an excellent point, Perseus. I'm very glad you brought that up. Oh, your channel is gone. I'm sorry, I haven't been on there recently, so I had completely missed that. I'm disgusted that I didn't remember that, Perseus. I am very sorry that I had not been by recently enough to know that. My apologies. Um, and D-Man, thin privilege does not exist. It's called thin benefits, aka the advantages of diet and exercise. The art of deflection in the fat acceptance movement is worrying and self-destructive. Beautiful point. Perfectly made. Beautiful point. Nicely done. Okay, so now we had the Weight Watchers woman here, Rebecca, talking about how it was going to fat shame kids into eating disorders and how Weight Watchers is a horrible, horrible, nasty program. Well, there's a little backlash on that from, of all places, CBC, which is a fairly liberal outlet. The Canadian news can be quite liberal in its bend, but this is an excellent article about that. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but again, the link will be in the description. Oh, I forgot to bookmark it. Please excuse me. There we go. So the backlash against Weight Watchers program for teens is an observed overreaction. The program will offer guidance on nutrition and lifestyle, as well as space to discuss insecurities. That is a wonderful opening. In early February, Weight Watchers announced plans centered around early intervention, a new family-oriented wellness program, one that will be open to teens as young as 13, to foster the development of healthy habits at a critical life stage. Though the initiative will undoubtedly serve the company's financial interests, as I said, the stock went up 18% when they announced it, the intent appears to be noble, and either way, the need is undeniable. The program will offer guidance on matters of nutrition and lifestyle, as well as a space to discuss insecurities and issues of self-perception and body image. And by offering free summer memberships to teens aged 13 to 17, this proposed initiative would serve as a resource for overweight teens across the socioeconomic spectrum. A balanced lifestyle often sees that weight takes care of itself over time, and teens living with or at risk for obesity are being invited to gain health-specific knowledge and the confidence to apply it to develop realistic and sustainable habits for long-term success. There will be no focus on scales or tape measures. The primary targets in terms of intended loss are things like self-consciousness and doubt. And that is what Rebecca brought up in that study that she linked, which again is an excellent study that you should read, about talking to children about their weight in the wrong way can actually lead to body image insecurity and possibly increase their increase their chances. Not possibly, it will increase their chances of developing an eating disorder. But the focus has to be on doing it the right way. And Weight Watchers, by what I'm reading here, has developed, and on their website, on their wiki page, has developed a basically holistic program with that in mind. And my sister was in Weight Watchers for years. It helped her, and there was never any body shaming. There was nothing but support. And if you did gain weight, boom, you and the coach went over and you talked about it together. If you had success, you shared your success with the others. There was no pointing at people and saying, "Oh, you're heavier than you were last week. Screw you, you're out of the program." No. It's a very comfortable, safe program for people, and especially since they've changed the way they run it, and they've gone to a more holistic approach, as I just said. So Rebecca is just talking out of her folds. I don't know if Rebecca's fat. I don't know, but let's just assume. Why not? If not for a structured program like Weight Watchers, it's unclear where these critics think young teens should get their information. Thank you. The status quo will see that many seek guidance from gossip and fitness magazines, both of which are notorious for dangerous dietary advice, unrealistic promises regarding weight loss, and shady ads featuring expensive and entirely ineffective pills and supplements, which claim, among other things, magic felt melting or metabolism boosting powers. And I think I said in my last video, if you ever see the word boosting when it comes to something like your immune system or your energy levels, your ability to lose weight, your metabolism, run, don't walk. Run away from those people. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, almost every supplement on the market, beyond a few that I couldn't even name right now, are pure bunkum. They are worthless. They're just designed to take your money away and enrich the people who came up with them. And if you want to delve further into the supplement horror show, look up Orrin Hatch and I think it was the ASDHA initiative for allowing supplements to be able to advertise with only having to put in the disclaimer, this product is not used to treat, identify, or cure any disease. It's not been approved by the FDA. That's all they have to do, just put in that disclaimer in tiny little print at the bottom of the ad, and they can get away with virtually anything, especially homeopathic products. I'm going to do a video on homeopathy. I touched on it in the last video. I think I'll do a much larger one, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So anyway, an excellent article in the CBC about how Rebecca's article is just nothing but an opinion piece, and a very bad opinion at that. Hey Ray, glad you made it. Thanks for coming. Hope you got your exercise in. I'll let y'all continue in the chat. You're having a great time, and you don't need to interrupt yourselves. So if you need me to comment on something, just put in AHNC in quotes, and it'll draw my eye to it, and then I'll pick it up. Otherwise, y'all have as much fun as you're having now. And by the way, thank you so much for being here and contributing to the chat, everyone. It makes me feel great. It really does, to know that people are learning and they're getting something from this. And as I may have stated before, comments in the proper box when this video is posted. Let me know what I can do better, and let me know if I can pick a better time. I really need your feedback. I live for that feedback. I truly do. I answer every comment that I'm sure would benefit from one, or direct questions. Absolutely everyone. All right, so moving on. Now this is another article critical of Rebecca. This site, let me cut to it for a second. This is Conscious Health. I believe I'm pronouncing it correctly. Conscious Health. It is all about consumer relations with diet products, fat bias not in the way you would expect, and obesity research, things like that. I just found it today, and I'm going to be going there a lot. One of the first articles I saw in there was about the HCG diet, which you'll see is, I believe, my last live stream. And I didn't know to use this place as a resource then, but trust me, I will be in the future. I'll have the link to this in the description. Please check it out at your leisure. I highly recommend this site. They've been going on since, I think, 2004, and they have monthly archives. It's a very, very strong resource in this area study. But here is their kick towards Rebecca. Fat acceptance advocates are unhappy with Weight Watchers. Social media gives power to intense emotions, and if you want to sample intense emotions, tune into a conversation between fat acceptance advocates and Weight Watchers. Well, calling it a conversation is probably inaccurate. It's more of a one-sided torrent of anger, and it's all about outreach to teens. So there's the press release. A rallying cry for fat activists. However, it lit a fire under fat activists at the Association for Size, Diversity, and Health. That's them. ASDAH. That's the health at every size people. In their worldview, Weight Watchers equals dieting. Dieting equals fat shaming. I'm appalled, wrote ASDAH Treasurer Rebecca Scritchfield in the Washington Post. I missed that. I missed that she was with ASDAH. I should have seen that before. I would have brought that up before, but I had forgotten. But these people kindly, Conscious Health kindly reminded me. Thank you, Conscious Health. A hashtag was born, Wake Up Weight Watchers. Promoting body positivity will help, but it's not enough. Shaming people who don't want to find healthier patterns for their lives, perhaps with the help of Weight Watchers, doesn't solve problems, it just stirs anger, which is true. I'm sorry, I skipped over it. This is the part I wanted to read. Angry hashtags and tweets will not be enough to solve two vexing problems for the health of young people. Fat shaming and weight bias are evil, pure and simple. I totally agree. There should not be either in certain senses. But if you're going to have weight bias against someone because they can't get through the door at work, because they're constantly breaking office chairs, or their health is so bad that they can't get to work regularly, and they're not seeking treatment for said health, there's going to be a bias involved, folks. Trust me. And we're going to get into an article about that later on. They fuel eating disorders and destroy lives. But at the same time, obesity is doing a great harm to the health of young people. Approximately 5 million children and teens have severe obesity. Both of these problems deserve attention, as I said. So what they're hitting the nail on the head. Weight Watchers is a program. It is a tool. And everyone needs tools at their disposal. And the fact that Weight Watchers is extending this tool to teens this summer for free is an excellent start, in my opinion. I think Rebecca and those of her ilk are merely fanning the flames of fat acceptance in order to get their message across. And ASDAH, as we all know, is a totally bogus organization that cares nothing about people. It only cares about social justice concepts. And again, watch my video on health at every size to get a good look into those guys, if you like. I'm not demanding you watch my videos. You could just look up ASDAH on the web. In fact, I'll let me create a link for it. There it is. Yeah, you can see that link in my video, but I'll have the link in this video as well, since we're talking about it. Okay, so moving on. Just talking about obese people at work, and here you go. Obese people should start work later to avoid rush hour crush, government advisor says. Seriously, folks. Now, I saw this article on the Daily Wire on Ben Shapiro's show, if I'm not mistaken. So if I say something that echoes what Ben said, please forgive me. I'm not trying to plagiarize him. These are my thoughts as well. It's just sometimes people think alike. But again, I'm not trying to copy Ben. I'm trying to give my own perspective on this. But one thing he did mention that I cannot ignore is that this right here should start work later to avoid rush hour crush. Does that mean they're going to work later? Probably not. It doesn't say they should avoid rush hour altogether, just that they can start work later. So let's not inconvenience them by making them work the hours that they missed. No. They get to go home at a regular time. But what Bennett said, what I agree with, is this is going to stigmatize obese people even more, because now they're getting a complete gimme. It's bad enough that social justice warriors like Rebecca and the authors of that obesity bias and social justice paper, sorry about the chair, it's bad enough that they're out there. But to have government officials promoting giving special treatment to overweight people is beyond the pale, in my opinion, and needs to be severely restricted, or I'm sorry, needs to be severely backlashed. And this article in the Telegraph in the UK does just that. Obese workers should be allowed to start work late to avoid the rush hour crush, a government advisor has said, and they should have the right to sue employers if they are not offered jobs or promotions because of their weight. Sue. Now, weight bias is a thing. And again, if they're disruptive to the workforce, why should they get special treatment? Especially if they're allowed to come into work late. So now you're not only giving them a leg up on working fewer hours, in order to accommodate their size, but they also get to use their weight as a club, literally throwing their weight around to get what they want. Promotions are based properly on merit. Society is a meritocracy, but of course, social justice warriors, feminists, and the like want to make society outcome based, not merit based. So it's not that you deserve it. It's not that you deserve it because of your abilities. You deserve it because you're a person. No, 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 no. Professor Stephen Bevan of the Institute for Employment Studies said businesses should make more accommodations, quote unquote, for workers carrying excess weight, adding it was time for those suffering functional impairment were supported at work in the same way those with other health conditions might. Critics called the idea ridiculous, with concessions for the obese likely to fuel resentment among fellow workers, as Ben and I just said. But speaking at the European Congress on Obesity in Vienna, Professor Bevan said the condition should be made a protected characteristic under the Equality Act. It's the same as if you went for a job and didn't get it because you were a woman, he said. Seriously. Absolutely seriously. First of all, women are not being denied jobs, as we've seen. In fact, they're getting paid more from the ages of 21 to 29. They're making over 3% more than males in the same jobs. Excuse me. And they're getting hired in STEM at rates surpassing men. So don't give me that crap about you're not getting it because you're a woman. And certainly don't tell me that you can't get a job because being fat is the same as an absolute genetic event. Unless your genes are out of whack and you have a metabolic condition that's preventing you from staying on weight, then no, it's not a protected characteristic. I'm sorry. Professor Christopher Snowden, a lifestyle expert, said being fat is not a disability. If obese people are to be given special privileges, why not smokers, alcoholics, and compulsive gamblers? Everyone in the chat knows this exact sentence by heart. We've all said it before and we'll all say it again. There is absolutely no reason the obese deserve a leg up. None. They deserve all the help they can get, certainly. They deserve medical resources. They deserve nutritional resources. They deserve health resources. But they do not deserve a special position in society because they're overweight. That is ridiculous. For instance, Whitney Waythor, her show, My Big Fat Fabulous Life on TLC. It's not a big life. She's incredibly restricted in what she does, unless the show producers want her to go somewhere and try to ski. If you've never seen that video of Whitney on skis, just do an internet search for Whitney Waythor ski accident. You'll find it. It's not funny. It's horrific. Absolutely horrific. You may get a chuckle out of it, but deep inside, you're going to realize how horrible of a life this person has. So her life is not big, and it is certainly not fabulous. It is fat. But she has her own TV show. Why? Because she danced in a video when she was obese and working at a radio station, and it went viral. Now she can't even dance, I've been told. She's gained so much weight, she's off her legs. If that's true, I only feel pity for her. That's all. I just feel pity. So to finish this article, it comes as projections to be presented at the Congress by the UK Heart Forum and Institute of Technology in Ireland show that 5 million Britons will be morbidly obese by 2035, the body mass index of those aged over 40 doubling within 20 years. Doubling. I'm not sure if I have this in one of my articles, but you may well know that obesity is now the second leading cause of cancer just behind smoking, both of which are preventable, yet our tax dollars are being thrown at these people in order to keep them from dying um, a death that they are causing themselves. Now, full caveat, I'm sorry, full disclosure, I smoke cigars. I smoke maybe 2 or 3 a week during the good weather. I can't smoke indoors. My wife will not allow it, and I totally respect that. And I live in Wisconsin, so going out to the garage isn't going to happen November through March, even April for that matter. This has been an extremely cold year here. It's only about 69 degrees outside right now. June 7th, it's only 69 degrees. I live right on Lake Michigan. The water is only about 59 degrees right now. That's how far behind we are on the weather. Check the chat here. Okay. Oh, Pamela Curl, I need to read this. She stopped trying to lose weight and to get fit. She loves her show, not herself. Did you see where she wants to adopt a child with her friend Tal? No, I did not. Um, is Tal the? I'm not familiar with the characters on the show, and I mean characters, not participants, because it's reality TV, folks. They're all characters. But Pamela, is Tal the Asian girl who appeared in the Whitney Waythor professional victim video that I did, the one where she compares being obese to being an amputee or being an acid burn victim? Because if that's Tal, um, I'm not going to repeat them, but I've heard some stories about their relationship that I find prurient but slightly interesting. Okay, so we've nailed that article, and again, we're showing Rebecca that she's way out of her league. She knows nothing about what she's talking about. Um, and what was this guy's name again? Stephen. Probably Stephen Bevan. So let's keep that in mind, folks. You see his name pop up on Twitter. Don't hold back. Now, here's what's right in the news right now, hitting all the headlines. Miss America is scrapping the swimsuit portion from its pageant. It gets worse. It gets worse. And this is CNN, folks. Remember, liberal media at its worst. The next edition of the Miss America pageant will scrap swimsuits and will be more inclusive to women of all sizes. The contest, announced Tuesday. Gretchen Carlson, the chairwoman of the Miss America Board of Directors, announced on Good Morning America that the event will no longer feature a swimsuit portion. Miss America will be a competition, not a pageant, Carlson said on the show Tuesday. We will no longer judge our candidates on their outward physical appearance. That's huge. I know she didn't mean it that way, but I'm sorry. When you're talking about fat acceptance, when someone uses the word huge, you can't help but laugh. You just can't. Carlson also said the new Miss America competition will be more inclusive to women of all shapes and sizes. All shapes and sizes. So, this is the first Miss America, 1921. What was her name again? Margaret Gorman. Now, the Miss America pageant when it first started was basically a beauty contest. People would submit photographs, and they would be selected on their beauty characteristics, and they would have a walk-off in New Jersey on the boardwalk. There was also a swimsuit competition, and women that was a separate judging. They were given a separate award for that. Now, I'm going to refresh this right now. This is the Miss America Wiki. Okay, so this page has been updated today, June 7th, 2018 at 12:02. Now, I believe that that is my local time. If I'm wrong, please tell me. Even if it's not, still, it's recent. It's today. This announcement came out a few days ago. And what, of all things, whoops, sorry, I got ahead of myself. What, of all things, does it say about itself? What is the Miss America competition? Miss America, type beauty pageant. Miss America is a competition that is held annually and is open to women from the United States between the ages of 17 and 25. Originating in 1921 as a bathing beauty review, the contest is now judged on competitors' talent performances and interviews in addition to their physical appearance. They haven't even changed their wiki yet. Physical appearance. That's not going to be the thing anymore. Now you're going to be based on your talent, your ability to answer questions from the judges. There will be live interaction. And we've all seen the videos of former Miss America contestants butchering the question portion of the program. Some of them are cringeworthy to the max. I'm sure there's a YouTube video out there, or dozens, that have compiled these questions and answers. And this, sorry, I laugh just thinking about them. It is horrible. Now, I heard something the other day, and it's from a Miss America contestant from last year, I believe, who said that there are two pageants. Remember, there are two main beauty pageants in the U.S. There's Miss America, and then there's Miss USA. And Trump owned Miss USA till 2015. That was his pageant, not Miss America. Here's the thing. The saying goes, Miss America is the girl next door. Miss USA is the girl you want to live next door. Now, since women are not going to be judged on appearance anymore, and also that article mentions further down, the evening gown competition is going to be disqualified. No more evening gown. It is going to be what you want to wear that you are comfortable in. So, let me ask everyone in the chat, would you rather look at this young lady in an evening gown right here, this young lady in an evening gown right here, or this slut walker who is comfortable in what she's wearing, who feels empowered, who is obviously right on the leading edge of social justice? Which would you rather tune in and watch perform? Let's go further. Guys or ladies, it doesn't matter. Would you rather tune into a TV show and watch someone dressed like this, or this, or this? I'm probably going to get this video taken down for this, but I'm sorry, it had to be shown. This is another slut walk from LA in October 1st, 2017. The Miss America board is basically turning their program into a slut walk, in my opinion. It's going to be what you want to wear and social justice times 10. With maybe a little talent. I can't wait to see the talent competition. It should be interesting. Although a lot of the former Miss America pageant contestants were extremely talented. Some of their musical abilities were non-parallel. Just so I remember one who played the violin. I'm sure there were others, but one about 3 years ago who knocked my socks off. And I never watched the show. I saw her performance later, and it was stunning, absolutely stunning. Let's see what kind of performances these SJWs are able to produce. Sorry I left that up so long. Now, here's some pushback on Ms. Gretchen Carlson's decision to drop the swimsuit and the evening gown portion of the program. Now, in case you don't know, Gretchen Carlson used to be an anchor on Fox. She's a previous Miss America queen. She won back in, I think, oh, here it is, in '89. I thought I had that up there. She was one of the first, if not the first, to accuse Roger Ailes of sexual harassment. He, as I understand it, propositioned her one time. Um, I'm not going to defend Roger Ailes or excuse him either way. I really don't know enough about the story to give a logical and informed opinion. I will say this though, as a man, I'm just going to say this: how are you going to be able to sleep with beautiful women if you don't ask them? That's all I'm saying. Now, did he push it too far? I don't know. Did he ask multiple times? I don't know. If he did, wrong. Absolutely wrong. Never should have happened. And he should have been drummed out for that. I believe he was also aggressive towards other women, um, and that should not be allowed. But I'm just saying, you know, if I wanted to sleep with an attractive woman, and I couldn't think of another way other than asking her, well, I'm going to ask her. Again, total personal opinion. Not defending anyone, not throwing anyone under the bus. Just total personal opinion. Hate me if you like. So, Gretchen Carlson, Miss America in 1989 and now chair of the pageant's board of directors, announced Tuesday that the swimsuit portion of the pageant, as of Tuesday, competition, is no more. Women no longer have to walk on stage in front of millions in a bikini and high heels to earn scholarship money. It was no doubt the most sexist component of the event, yet in dropping the swimsuit segment and not replacing it with a fitness competition, the Miss America organization is conceding that the lifestyle and fitness portion of the event has never actually been about fitness. That's what that was called, lifestyle and fitness. Now, it used to be you wore a one piece with what they call a modesty panel. I'm sure you understand what that means. Gretchen Carlson herself, when she won, she had a very custom swimsuit made for her. She traveled to Fort Worth from Minnesota to get a quote-unquote secret fabric design that accented her curves and made her look as presentable, as beautiful in that suit as possible. The bikinis have came later. And I totally agree. You shouldn't have to wear high heels in a bikini. That's just wrong. That's just wrong. No one does that. And if they do, they should be laughed at. I'm sorry. You don't wear high heels in a bikini unless you're really trying to draw attention to yourself. And I love to see someone walking in 6-inch heels on a pebbly beach. Or a sandy beach for that matter. I would adore a video of that. So, it has been about artifice and contradiction. Wear a swimsuit, but don't swim in it. Do not go barefoot in said non-swimming bathing suit. Instead, wear 6-inch heels. Look slender and muscular, but not too thin and not too strong. Compete for college scholarships, but work on your six-pack first. Now, you'll notice none of the women that I showed in that video had six-packs. They had flat bellies, but they did not have six-packs. Miss America is pretty well forbidden to have a six-pack. You can't, as he said, you can't look too muscular. So no six-packs on these women. That was a bit of a reach there. After all, you'll be showing as much skin as a college student on spring break. And what's wrong with that? I mean, there you go right there. College students, or older women for that matter, can wear whatever they please on the beach. It's fine with me. It may look, what is it? Where was that? I can't find it. It may look like this. You know what? And I'm not going to be happy seeing it, but I'm not going to shame them. I'm not going to run after them and say, put on a burqa, you fat cow. It's not my job. And it's rude and it's unseemly to do something like that. But I don't have to like it. But, anyone can wear whatever they want to the beach as long as it's legal. I'm fine with that. So, showing as much skin as a college student on spring break. Again, if you're already doing that, then what's the problem doing it in a pageant? Seriously, what's the problem? Well, we're objectifying women, of course. The male gaze. Don't forget the male gaze. If you look at a woman, you're telling her that you're going to have sex with her. That's it. That's it. The male gaze. Look it up. It's horrible. It's horrible feminist theory. Just just totally degrades men. You can't degrade men. Men are animals. Men are the patriarchy. Men are keeping women down and not allowing them to succeed. Ooh, Miss America now runs the pageant competition. Yeah, so she obviously was kept down. Madeleine Albright kept down. Lisa Page kept down by herself. But yeah, no women can succeed because of the male gaze and because of patriarchy. While many are thrilled that it is no longer necessary to bare bodies for books, pageant purists shake their heads at Miss America without swimsuit. It simply isn't Miss America. It's actually surprising that fitness is no longer a category at all in the revamped Miss America competition. Being fit and feminine has never been as accepted as it is today, from fitness celebrities on Instagram, whose requests I get all the time. Glad I'm off Twitter. I got tired of getting those. To female athletes such as Serena Williams and Aly Raisman. Where was that? There we go. Since she took the reins in January, talking about Carlson, many have assumed that swimsuits would go. What is surprising is that the entire category related to fitness was eliminated. In other pageants that do not have swimsuit competition, including sister pageant Miss America's Outstanding Teen, the contestants must perform a fitness routine while wearing form-fitting workout attire. Form-fitting. Well, you know, comme ça. The routine includes planks, squats, and jumping jacks. What's wrong with that? Well, Miss America competition is now going to include women of all shapes and sizes. So we can't have a fitness portion because they won't be fit. I don't think the pageant competition will be watchable either. Well, let's watch the ratings tank like the NFL and see how long it goes. Remember, if you want something to fail, let social justice take over. Comic books, video games until recently, Magic the Gathering, Overwatch, things like that. Let social justice get in there, it tanks. It ruins the experience for everyone. And it takes years to build that audience back up. Having an actual fitness component would be a more accurate reflection of life for today's young women. The reality is that American females, young and old, have an ideal of a healthy lifestyle. For some, the focus is on being thin, but for many others, the focus is on being fit and healthy. This can and should be reflected in what a body can do rather than how it only looks. How it looks. While dropping swimsuits for Miss America is a decision that feels very of the moment in our Me Too culture, and let's remember, Carlson was pretty much a pioneer in the Me Too culture. Don't forget that if you want to see a woman in bathing suits on your TV screen, you can always tune into an episode of The Bachelor. And if you want to see what fit female bodies can do, watch it should be Ann. No, I was wrong. Watch a WNBA game or American Ninja Warrior. Okay, American Ninja Warrior is really cool, by the way. I used to watch the original Japanese Ninja Warrior on oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the channel now. It was a gaming channel. Had a number of different video game programs on it. But now there's the American Ninja Warrior spinoff, and they're both fantastic watching. It's really a lot of fun to just sit back, grab some pretzels and some Diet Coke, and watch these people perform. It's exciting. It really is. And you get invested into their people. They do a nice little bio of each of them. And as soon as they start down the course, you're really rooting for them. There are no villains in Ninja Warrior. It's all great people. And there's, I believe, and now, if I'm not mistaken, it's not divided by sexes. Women compete in American Ninja Warrior right alongside the men, and they do quite well. It's not a strength contest, and so it's agility, and women are usually more agile than men, so they have a bit of a built-in advantage, actually. Now, again, let's remember they've canceled the evening gown competition too. So the entire thought of an elegant Miss America is gone. Now you can wear whatever you want. You can look however you want. I'd love to know what the criteria is for getting in, since you don't have to look good anymore. Um, I believe they're going to have to submit essays, if I remember correctly now, and they'll be judged on that. So, are you going to go to your local beauty pageants um, in hopes of seeing the future Miss America when you know they don't have a chance anymore, or are you going to watch the people who go into Miss USA? If you like if you like pageants, not competitions, I think you know where you're going to be voting. Okay, now here's some more pushback on fat acceptance. And I am very happy to see this. This is from January of 2013, but it's in the Atlantic. The Atlantic, left leaning. We hate Trump, the Atlantic. Maybe they were a little more right back then. I couldn't say. But this article is still worth looking at. And again, the link will be in the description along with everything else I've referenced. One bioethicist's modest proposal to combat obesity through socially motivated self-hatred. People don't hate being fat enough, basically, according to Hastings Center bioethicist Daniel Callahan. In an editorial published in the Hastings Center report, he argues that nothing, not diets, drugs, surgeries, nor appeals to our health, is working, and goes on to make the case for fat shaming people until they start eating more salad. An edgier strategy is needed, is his earnest and entirely devoid of irony way of putting it. Edgy strategy he came up with entails social pressure combined with vigorous government action. Callahan likens it to the campaign to end smoking. Smoking. Why not? The combination in his experience of being criticized, sent outside, and taxed for his nasty habit was the motivation he needed to quit. Right next door to me is a shopping center, and there is one of those discount tobacco shops in it. Pretty sure everything they have has been taxed properly, but they sell all the really low-end cigarette stuff that's as cheap as you can get. But still, it's like what? If someone here smokes, hey, Brian, how you doing? How you doing, buddy? Be well, sir. Be well. Um, but actually, cigarettes cost what, like $8 a pack now, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember back in 1990, no, 89. I took my mom and dad to Canada when I was living in Grand Forks. We went up to Winnipeg. Winnipeg is not the prettiest city in Canada, but there's nothing to do in Grand Forks other than eat, drink alcohol, and watch movies. So, which is not a bad lifestyle in one sense, but if you want to get really, really fat, it is bad. But we went up to Winnipeg to do a couple things, and it was on Labor Day. And we're driving down a street, and there was a sign on a gas station that said cigarettes, $20 or $12, and that's Canadian, back in 1990, mind you. And Dad said, wow, that's not a bad price for a carton. And I said, Dad, that's per pack. He almost died. He was a smoker back then. The thought of him having to pay that much for a pack of cigarettes was alien to him. He could barely wrap his brain around it. Or was it $12 a pack? Somewhere in there. So this is how Canada deals with smoking. It taxes the living bejesus out of it. Not a bad plan. Now, I pay a lot in taxes for my cigars because of a rule that the FDA put out a few years ago. I can't get free samples anymore. Their distributors are incredibly regulated now as to what they can and can't do. Basically, if it's not a money transaction, it can't happen. Promotional items are restricted even to a certain degree. You can still get them, but they're usually only involved with a raffle. Good for you, Brian. Good for you. My wife and I mainly watch YouTube on TV through Apple TV. That's our thing. That's our thing. YouTube. We watch all the news shows that we can get our hands on. including Tim Pool. Y'all should watch Tim Pool. He can be maddeningly, he can drive you crazy being centrist at times because he really never picks a side except on a few issues. But he is very insightful and a very interesting person to listen to. That's Tim Pool, Pool, not with an E, just straight Pool. Check him out. The force of being shamed and beat upon socially, he writes, was as persuasive for me to stop smoking as the threats to my health. So imagine his surprise when the same social smackdown was actually discouraged when it came to obesity. I had not realized that smoking was the exception, that the public health community generally opposes anything that looks like blaming the victim. He brings up as an example the opposition to blaming HIV patients for contracting the disease. Callahan stops before suggesting that such patients brought HIV on themselves, but he clearly implies that obesity is a situation where the victim can and should be blamed for their condition. After all, we're already doing it unofficially. The obese are said to be lazy, self-indulgent, lacking in discipline, awkward, unattractive, weak-willed, and sloppy, insecure, and shapeless. It's not him saying that. He's only reciting what's already been said among doctors and nurses. But only to themselves, only between each other. In the UK, I believe, they have basically banned the word fat from being used by physicians in the National Health Service. You can't tell a patient they're fat because that would hurt them. Being fat doesn't hurt them. Being fat is fine. Hey, you want to be 600 pounds? Die when you're 50? Go for it. You're not going to die because of the weight. You're just going to die because you wanted to check out early. It was your choice. Right. People who are overweight, he contends, remain hopelessly unaware of their plight. He references the study finding Americans as a whole aren't aware that they're getting fatter. The obese majority of the public must understand that, whatever they may think about the power and excess of government, it is inescapable in this case, as much as with national defense. Callahan makes a case for himself not being that radical. He's only calling for mild coercion on the part of the government in the form of Bloomberg-style bans and taxes, supplemented by what he calls stigmatization light. This low-cal, low-hatred version of stigmatization is edgy, just crazy enough to work, so long as it doesn't lead to outright discrimination. It entails forcing overweight people to confront themselves in the mirror and ask themselves, if you are overweight or obese, are you pleased with the way you look? It's a very simple question. Are you happy that your added weight has made many ordinary activities, such as walking up a long flight of stairs, harder? Would you prefer to lessen your risk of heart disease and diabetes? No. Who would want to lessen that risk? Go for it. Diabetics have all the fun. They get to have pieces of their body amputated regularly because of the circulatory problems that are associated with diabetes. What's diabetic neuropathy among friends, right? Are you aware that once you gain a significant amount of weight, your chances of taking that weight back off and keeping it off are poor? Are you pleased when your obese children are called fatty or otherwise teased at school? Fair or not, do you know that many people look down upon those excessively overweight or obese, often in fact discriminating against them and making fun of them or calling them lazy and lacking in self-control? Should have been an extra paragraph there. Those are all very valid questions that any one of us could bring up in a conversation with someone we know who is morbidly obese, or someone that we're just enjoying a general conversation with if health comes up. I wouldn't broach it off the bat. I wouldn't lead with that trump card, but it can come up. Now, I'll give an example that I just listed in a comment yesterday to someone on one of the boards. I have two friends. One I only see seasonally because we're cigar buddies and we smoke outside at events put on by our local cigar shop. And another friend who I see regularly but hadn't in a while because of travel and other things that I've been doing. I came across both of them within about a month of each other, and both had gained noticeable amounts of weight. The first one, my cigar friend, I said, "Wow, you put on weight." And he went, why did you, he didn't use these words, but the look was basically, why did you say that? You shouldn't notice that. And I said, I see you're surprised, but you have. Are you happy with that? And he mumbled something, and we talked after that. I didn't push it. I let him know that I had recognized he'd gained weight and that he needed to be aware that it was not something he should be happy about. That was it. The second friend I saw, and he had put on a good 15, 20 pounds in a short period of time. And I walked up to him. We were alone. And I said, "Are you okay? You've put on a lot of weight, and I'm worried about your health." And he looked at me, and then he laughed it off. And he said, "Well, it's my protection from my six-pack." But I didn't laugh. I said, "As long as you're healthy, that's all I care about." And he knew, like anyone, that being overweight is not healthy. So did the first friend, the cigar buddy. They both know that. But I pointed it out to them. Now they know that other people know. It's not just their own little secret. I think that's vitally important. When I gained all my weight, no one said a word. I went from 220, which was too heavy, definitely too heavy. I should have lost weight before that. But I went from 220 to 270 in about a year, and no one said a word. If I finally saw the scale one day and looked at it when it said 270, and I realized what had happened, and I started seeing doctors because I thought something was wrong because I couldn't exercise. I had no energy. And it turned out I had a hormone disorder that had kicked in about 5 years previously. And my hormone level had finally gotten so low, my metabolism had basically ground to a halt. And so once those levels started coming up, I was able to eat properly. I trained myself to stop eating past being full. I stopped eating at night, things like that, and the weight started coming off. It wasn't just the hormone. It was my changing my lifestyle. Those two things work together. And that's one thing I always advocate is if you're gaining weight and you don't understand why, if you can't look at yourself and say, I'm eating these snacks, and a lot of people underreport what they eat. A lot of people underreport what they eat when they do clinical studies. I'll get to that in a second. But if you can look at yourself and say, I'm gaining weight and I don't know why, go see somebody. Go to a doctor. Get yourself checked out because it may be something that's curable. Really, I shouldn't say curable. That's a bad word. It may be something treatable, and that will help. Or a nutritionist. You can go see a nutritionist, and they can make you do your daily diet diary, and you can see what's going on. Now, back to underreporting. There was a study that was done back, I think around 1985. And what they did was they selected a group of people, I think about 30 people, and for 4 weeks, they were to write down everything they ate during the day. At the end of that 4 weeks, they were taken to a college that was out of session. There was a summer school, but that dorm did not have students in it. And they put them in this dormitory. And every day, they were given exactly what they had written in their diary to eat. To the time, to the calorie, everything. They all lost weight in that 4 weeks because they weren't reporting everything they ate. They did not know or deliberately underreported due to shame. That's how easy it is to lose weight. If you just pay attention, you can lose weight. Okay, moving on. Now, this is an article. Let me scroll up a little bit. This is an article in The Guardian. Now, The Guardian is left. It is the SJW paper in the UK, in my opinion. Used to be a good newspaper, really did. And then the SJWs took over, and it's completely gone downhill. But this is a beautiful opinion that they published. It's not fine to be fat. Celebrating obesity is irresponsible. This is one of the things that helps me feel good about the backlash against fat acceptance. And you can see This is from April of this year. So it's nice and recent. Now, you'll notice all these pictures that you see in these articles of obese people with their back turned. That way their face isn't shown and they don't have to get a release from the individual to show their picture. Even though if they're in a public area, you really don't need a release anyway, but it's more of a courtesy. But they don't have any problems taking these pictures. It doesn't take them any time at all to snap these shots. These people are everywhere because obesity is an epidemic. So don't think they're setting up a blind somewhere, waiting for that leopard to come into the pond at night and take a drink before it goes and kills a gazelle. No, 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 no. They're everywhere, folks, and you know that as well as I do. Body positivity. I'm sorry, I have to take a drink. Oh, thank you, Brian. I really appreciate that that nicety. That was kind of you. Thank you. Body positivity begins as a powerful antidote to the media's obsession with skeletal models and beach ball breasted glamour girls. Agreed. Empowering women of non-Barbie proportions to feel good about themselves, the movement has attacked impossible beauty ideals that confront us in advertising, branding, and beyond, criticizing everything from the thigh gap trend to green juice cleanses. Oh, green juice cleanses. That's another word to look out for. Cleanse. Especially liver cleanses or detox. There's another, yeah, boost, cleanse, and detox. 3 incredibly, oh my God, I got to run away words. Definitely stay away from those. Any product that advertises those functions, run away. Its success has led to a series of positive changes, including the decision to ban the use of rail-thin models in several European countries. Well, we went over that. These, unless that photo is digitally altered, these are real people. It is not an unobtainable goal. Yes, genetics plays a factor. You know, we're not all going to look like David Beckham. We're not all going to look like, pick your Instagram model, a Kardashian, whatever. Although that butt thing. But still, there are limits. But you can get healthy. No one is saying you have to look like this person. They're saying people can look like this person. Some of those trashy magazines do push it too far, but they shouldn't be read anyway. Anyone with an ounce of sense shouldn't be reading Cosmo. Sorry, Cosmo's cancer. Just it may be entertaining, but it's pathetic. I don't know what Playboy's been like lately, though. I don't know if it's good to read anymore. Used to be a great resource for very well researched articles. It's in the UK, body positivity has fueled a backlash against the clean eating movement. Disorders, with health experts linking questionable nutritional advice to a rise in eating disorders such as orthorexia. Orthorexia is I think I've got it right here. Yeah. When someone is suffering from orthorexia, they are usually fixated on achieving and maintaining a perceived healthy diet, which can be overlooked as harmful due to the ethical concerns associated with the clean eating trend. This emphasis on goodness provides a convenient and covert reason to restrict food intake, often accepted and even idolized, by society. Orthorexia is not currently recognized in the Diagnostics and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, so diagnosing the condition can be tricky. And of course, I believe the current DSM is DSM-4, so we'll see if it's in 5. But anyway, so orthorexia is basically you are trying to eat foods that are organically pure, which is, of course, an insane benchmark. What is organically pure? Seriously. So it's one of those buzzwords. I'm not into organic food anyway, as far as I'm concerned. Food is organic because it's raised in the soil. Well, how more organic can you get? I'm not going to pay 30% more for something just because it has a label organic on it. The nutritional benefits are not any better. Yes, non-organic products use pesticides that are not available to organic foods, but organic foods use pesticides too, folks. I don't care who made it. You got to rinse your food before you eat it, unless it's in a can or it's meat. You got to rinse your food. Maybe you should rinse meat too. I don't know. Someone tell me about that. So, here's the part of the article I really want to get into. The comedian Sophie Hagen, pictured right here, recently accused cancer research of bullying fat people after the charity launched a campaign to raise awareness about the link between cancer and obesity. Through a series of expletive-laden tweets, she criticized the organization for its damaging messages, claiming that fat didn't equal unhealthy. While nobody should ever be bullied for their weight or food choices, it's important to make a distinction between health awareness and cruelty. Cancer research wasn't criticizing a specific person for being overweight. They were pointing out that obesity is now the second leading cause of lifestyle-related cancers, a fact only 15% of the British public are aware of. 15%. That's outreach, folks. That's not outrage. That's outreach. In fact, I believe in France, I saw this a few weeks ago, in France, obesity is now the number one cause of cancer over over smoking. And the French are noted for the, I believe it's pronounced galois, in their lips, sitting at the cafe, drinking their espresso or their latte or whatever it is that the French drink, and they're sitting at cafes. Yeah, obesity is worse than smoking in France for cancer causes. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Yet they have the fat acceptance movement trying to push their message that it's not being fat that's unhealthy. It's you complaining about being fat, about my being fat, that's making me unhealthy. Pure projection. That's why I'm so mad about it. That's why I do so many videos on it. According to the NHS, we're in the grip of an obesity epidemic, which has led to increased pressure on the struggling health service. The latest figures reveal that weight-related hospital admissions have risen by 18% in the past year. 18% in 1 year. That is insane. That is a huge number. I couldn't wrap my brain around that the first time I read it. You know what? I still can't. 18% increase in 1 year in obesity-related hospital admissions. Now, don't tell me that obesity isn't a drain on society. Don't tell me that, because that kind of figure shows you how bad it is. It's terrible, absolutely terrible. With more than weight-related hospital admissions have risen by 18% in the past year, with more than a quarter of British adults now classified as obese. Another recent study, which measured the metabolic health of more than 17,000 respondents, showed that overweight people who exercise regularly and consider themselves fat but fit, here's what I referenced earlier, still had a 28% risk of heart disease compared to their slimmer counterparts. So fat but fit isn't really a thing. You may be able to do some exercises. You may be able to dance like Whitney used to, but you're not fit. You have a particular skill. You still can't climb stairs at any pace. You still can't fit into seats at restaurants unless they're open-sided. You can't sit on bar stools. You're not healthy, folks. You're just not healthy. As well as being linked to, here we go, diabetes, obesity can also be responsible for osteoarthritis, gout, breathing problems, high blood pressure, and other conditions. While being thin won't automatically grant you a clean bill of health or a long, smug life of squeaky clean arteries, there's no denying that health risks are higher for obese people. That's flat out science right there. Yet people like, what was her name again? Sophie Hagen have no concept of that. If you talk about anything being related to obesity as being a negative, you're talking about her specifically. You're attacking her, and that's not allowed. Even though you're trying to say, Sophie, you're unhealthy. You need to take better care of yourself. You're going to die before you reach 60 if you don't get healthy. No, that's an attack. Words are weapons. Remember that. Words are weapons. Words are violence. Here is the campaign that she was so incensed about. This poster right here. OB space S space Y. Guess what is the biggest preventable cause of cancer after smoking? Cancer Research UK. Totally nonpartisan organization. They are concerned about people's health. That's it. And if you guessed obesity, you win. You win the prize. 15% of the UK knew that. Now, what percentage of the UK is in the healthcare industry? Perhaps 15%. That goes to show that the general public was basically ignorant of this fact. It's a fact. Yet, Sophie went nuts. I'm not going to pronounce the swear words. I'm trying to cut that out on the channel if I can, especially in the live streams. But what we've got here is Sophie's tweet. Right. Is anyone currently working on getting this piece of S Cancer Research UK advert removed from everywhere? Is there something I can sign? How the effing F is this okay? She tweeted. I bet her act is political commentary, a lot like, say, Dennis Miller, or even Bill Maher back in the day. Very erudite, very well considered. Maybe even Carlin, a real genius when it comes to social issues. I mean, with language like that, it's obvious she's operating at the upper percentile of the comedy category. I'm sure she's great. What your campaign is doing is so incredibly damaging that I can't even begin to describe it in only 280 characters. There are many people who have tweeted me their articles about it. Try reading those. There's no excuse for you to have this campaign up. Your campaign is so damaging and fat-shaming, and I really hope it gets taken down. Hagen also blasted the use of BMI as a measure of obesity, claiming it's not a valid way of measuring anything. Okay, I know people have their problem with BMI. It is a tool. It is not a razor-sharp tool, however. It does have its limitations. For instance, bodybuilders are classified as obese. There is a study that I referenced, that Riley referenced first, actually, in my Riley J. Dennis video, that there is a BMI category for overweight, and the study showed that people in the overweight category actually have a better chance of living longer than people in the at the quote-unquote acceptable weight category. I'm not saying you should carry extra pounds. I don't know that study well enough to make a judgment, but it is there in black and white, so it is something to look into. That article, that study is referenced in the Riley J. Dennis video, so I suggest you go into the discussion or the discussion box and look for that article. It is listed with the name that you can understand as it being geared towards. So definitely look it up. It's well worth a read. It's very interesting research. So yeah, that's Sophie for you. Just cutting edge of human thought, human empathy, able to relate to science by attacking it. Remember, science is relative now. Facts are not facts. This is the postmodern world. This is post-truth world. Remember, your feelings don't get in the way of my facts. Sorry, I said that wrong. Forgive me, Ben Shapiro. My facts don't care about your feelings. And Sophie's tweets here are nothing but feelings. There's not a fact in them. Yet people listen to people like that. And that is that. That is the scene on the fat acceptance movement right now. And the way I see it, and I'll take your comments about what you think, fat acceptance has its proponents, and they are the loudest of the voices out there, but they are the minority. They are not reaching the vast majority of people. They are unfortunately reaching policymakers, though, and that's what has to stop. Now, articles like the ones I've just read, the backlash against Rebecca and the Weight Watchers thing, the backlash against Sophie Hagen, things like that, you need to bring those up to people. Because really, fat acceptance movement, living or dying, comes down to us. We have to make ourselves heard. All of you in this chat know exactly what we're talking about here, how dangerous fat acceptance is, how much of a losing proposition it ultimately is, but we have to get out there and let people know. And I think the best way to do that is to talk to your friends about their weight. Make it personal. I gave you a couple ideas as to how you can do that. The article that I mentioned, see if I can pardon me, I'm going to click around and see if I can find that in the Atlantic. Yeah, here we are right here. The Atlantic article. And again, link will be in the description. Too far. Check these out. Sorry about the chair. Check these questions out. Learn them and figure out how you can put them into a conversation with people that you know. These are important. Don't let people get away with laughing off their weight. Don't let people get away with making excuses. You're all very intelligent people, and you know how to argue your point. And you are arguing from a position of strength, not a position of weakness. They are the people, the obese, the ones who make excuses and say that their weight is fine, that they're not suffering any disabilities. They're on the back foot. And it doesn't take much to get them thinking about what's going on. Will you get them to lose weight? Maybe. And that maybe is huge. Think about the difference you can make in someone's life if you approach it with some of these questions. If you are overweight or obese, are you pleased with the way you look? You can figure out a way to say that. One way right off the top of my head. Do you feel that your weight is interfering with your self-image? Right there. Boom, taken care of. If they say no, then say, well, how do you think you would feel if you weren't carrying all that weight? Right here. Are you happy that your added weight has made many ordinary activities, such as walking up a long flight of stairs, harder? Are you happy? You're dealing with their emotions, which is where they're coming from. Fat acceptance is all about emotions. So if you can point that mirror back towards them, get rid of that problem of projection, and help them see themselves the way you see them, the way society sees them, the way the healthcare industry sees them, the way the airline industry sees them. We've all heard those stories about fat people sitting next to us on airline seats. Everyone has that story. And it's gotten worse, of course. Look at the obesity epidemic. We hear these figures over and over again. What was it in Great Britain? It's going to double by 2035? Double? These are horrible numbers. So go out there and make a difference. If you have the ear of your elected representatives, and you do, they all have email addresses now, get out there and talk to them. Call, especially call. Because remember, a voicemail, and often it'll go to voicemail. You rarely talk to a person. If you do, all's the better. But still, a voicemail, that's a human voice. They can hear your emotion. They can hear your inflection. They can't see you, so they don't get the entire import of what you're saying. But it makes a much better statement than just something written electronically and sent to an email box. Make that phone call. If you'd rather not, send that email, and don't be afraid to send it more than once. Reword it if you like. I would, to keep them from thinking you're spamming them. But don't let them off the hook. I mean, I'm a big gun rights proponent, and I've written about that several times to Congress and to the Senate. But I've also written about health issues, and you should too. And if you have already, do it again. All right. That's the stream. Let me thank all of you for being here. It was wonderful to have this chat going. I'm absolutely blown away by everyone being here and taking the time to let their voices be heard along with others and conversing about what's going on here. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's what the internet's all about, folks. Getting that information out there and interacting with people. I don't believe in one-way conversations with the internet. I don't believe in just sitting there and consuming. Make yourself heard, like I just said. Get out there and interact. I left Twitter because they were constantly shadow banning me. I could not pick up any more friends. What did they call them on Twitter? Followers, I think. Couldn't get any more. I was stuck at about 250, and I wasn't reaching anyone. So I left. Now, I had a fairly popular DM channel. People from all over the world were talking in it, and it was fun. But I ultimately started a Discord server to make up for closing it down because I couldn't Twitter anymore. It was ridiculous. I'm not telling you to leave Twitter. It's still a valuable tool for some people, but I couldn't take it anymore. The way they were cutting people down left and right just because they said something that Jack found offensive. That screw Twitter. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna let y'all go. We're right at 2 hours. Wonderful. A little overblown, but I did go on quite a bit, and I apologize for my verbosity. I hope to see you all again soon. Remember, check out my news channel. I'm not begging. I'm just referring you to my news channel. The link will be in the description. Hats Gorilla News. It is very tiny, very tiny. I would like to get it bigger, but bigger isn't important to me. The importance is, like I just said, getting the message out. And if I can do that, I'm happy. So, with all that said, thank you all again. I look forward to seeing your comments if you so choose. This links will be coming up. Be well, and thank you for your attention. So long.